Excellent.
Okay. So we'll start off with 212. So welcome everybody to the West Salem Redevelopment Advisory Board. This is the first time we're doing this in person and online. So probably introduce ourselves since we're not on screen with the visible. So I'm Tori Banford. I'm with the Community Planning and Urban Development. Yeah. Tori Banford with the Community Planning Development Department and staff supporting the West Salem Redevelopment.
I'm Ashley Maury. I'm with Salem Electric and joined the board about a year ago.
Good morning, Samantha Ross. I manage the Waffed Bank in West Salem, and I've been on the board for 3 years approximately. Library.
Mark Smith, Baxter, North America, the location of West Salem. For about 2 years, I think. My name is Tom Crozier. I work with Salem Kaiser School District, and I've been on the board for about a year and a half right now.
Good morning, my name is Gretchen Dennett. I'm on the staff team at the City of Salem, and I work as a liaison on homelessness issues.
Trying to make this virtual friendly, so I'm gonna share agenda. I have the agenda up, so it's your guys' meetings, you want to start with the first. So the first item of business, we have the election of the chair. So we had the previous chair, Jason Stats, who did work conflict resign. So the group has to elect a chair. So if you look at your packet, there's election of officers process for us, like nominating somebody. If there's multiple nominations. Already. That's from that. So I'll just turn it for you guys to. Feel free to reference the notes.
Well, I would like to start with, good morning, Samantha Ross. I would like to start with just a nomination for chair, if I could. And I would not like to nominate, and he's not present, Jeremy McKay. We can't, because he's not.
Yes, it's, I already asked, so we were set this up for January meeting, asked if you want to be chair, still say, so
Yes,
to formally say yes or.
Okay, so I, for that.
I would like to nominate Samantha Ross.
Patience. Not that you can have a second.
Nomination.
Do I accept the nomination?
Sure.
Yes, I accept the nomination.
All in favor?
Samantha Ross.
Yes. Next.
This is just a reference.
So we're on board. So when does it start?
What's that?
Being chair, the budget. Or is it a budget? Oh, okay, so moving on down the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome and call to order. Like to welcome everyone. We're just gonna wing this, everyone that's watching. And like to bring the meeting call to order. I'm trying to take this. I'm drinking my coffee. Can we get a approval of agenda? Got an opportunity to look through that. Now I'll move to a room. Okay. Sorry. Approval of the January 3rd minutes.
Really quickly, just have a vote, so you have a motion, second, discussion.
Discussion. Discussion. Approval of the minutes. That's everyone.
Process.
Opportunity to look at the January 3rd to get it. Probably.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, Rose that.
5, public comment. Public comments.
So I don't have anything that's, the meeting's now open for people to join, if you want to participate, otherwise you can do it on YouTube Live. As far as comments outside of the agenda, I haven't received anything. I do have information on parks, but that'll be in the discussion, so.
There are no action items. Not today. Hopefully next meeting there will be. Guys,
No, we just went through budget. Anticipate we'll look at the calendar later, but let's see, unless something comes out of this meeting.
so I'm just literally reading down.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
Discussion items, park statement on West Salem facilities, and Tori, 15 minutes. Because that's what it says.
So, Robert Dominic is the park planning manager, and so he was able to make it, it's spread pretty thin these days, so he provided a statement. I'll do it in the record. So he said, as far as, if you recall, previous meetings, he was providing his staff raising it through the community. Need for like restroom facilities off at Parkway Trail, West Salem Park. It's their concerns of the community, it's been old, think there's, Robert speaks to it, there's a plan to address. Specifically. So I'll scope from there. So that's kind of the context as far as invitation to parks, yeah. Background, what's happening with Salem currently and future. So I'm just gonna read what he provided. So as a general trend, park development timelines are extending out. Primary issue of capital costs, we've seen construction costs escalate over the past few years. However, city also has general fund revenue issue affecting parks operations. Parks need to be maintained and operated. The next park in West Salem scheduled for major development is Eagle View, a neighborhood park located at 451 Eagles Williams Street Northwest. Anticipate construction will start 2028, 2029 based on forecast included in capital. Our redevelopment efforts include the following. For the city's contract with Friends of Trees, volunteers planted approximately 45 trees at Eagles View Park this past fall. A similar tree planting event will be held at the park on February 10th. Park staff will be starting a riparian restoration effort at Eagles View Park this year. Parks planning staff are actively exploring opportunities to acquire a new park property to be located east of Wallace Road West. This acquisition would fill a need identified in the park system master plan. As proposed, neighborhood park 30 and 30 for context. See the map, which we provided in the record. So other park improvements. Voter approved safety and livability bond passed in 2022. City has a 10-year plan to upgrade existing parks throughout Salem, following this list of projects with Salem. So Brosh College Park playground rehabilitation, equipment replacement, Orchard Heights Park picnic shelter development, Orchard Heights Park softball field renovations. So then on the specific topic of restrooms at West Salem Park, Expand Park is classified as a neighborhood park. Meaning the city plans for it to serve nearby residents with local access to basic recreation resources, while permanent restrooms are not normally provided in neighborhood parks. West Salem Park is several older parks that have in order to provide a consistent level of service across the city. 2013 comprehensive park system master plan and recommends removal of the restroom to end with useful life. Following removal, deployment of a seasonal chemical toilet is needed. In 2023, the West Salem Neighborhood Association Park Chair Linda Yearly reached out to the city and requested a meeting with several West Salem community partners. In that meeting, the partners shared a desire to replace the restroom and a willingness to help them fundraise and acknowledging the value of the community. Places on the summer concert series hosted at the park. Parks planning suggested the city pursue a grant to fund approximately half the cost to replace the structure. Once community partners remains the other half of the cost, which would match a grant. Where staff have the cost estimate, which community partners need to set up. So there's ongoing conversation. So by chemical toilet, that's a body basically. So it would be fortunate to use the adult facilities in there and place it with the porta potty. So this group is organized to place the facility. So as far as urban renewal, we are part of that conversation. I think Jason as the chair, we had a conversation with the parks before. I don't think there's a cost raised as far as West Salem Park. Urban renewal, we can't do so as far as facility. Something. So conversation. I'm also discussing with people technically have existing facility. So there is a little bit of as far as like take that, building the same thing, but that's just it. You know, it's kind of a workaround. The maintenance issue. It's just take that. So assuming we get past that, it could be a possibility.
Question on the existing, is it just dilapidated, is it old? I haven't.
Is this the park behind Safeway?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. It's just a one bathroom or
Or two.
each.
I didn't
Or is it
even
one?
know that.
It's like a virtual.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's like a sim.
Yeah.
Just have it, here's a pool.
is it, so I guess a question currently, is it locked after an hour or is it open during?
That's a good question. I'd have to ask part of my assumption is they're kind of seasonal, but that probably is out of it once it's in the summer season. I don't think it's open. So I have out there is we've had a conversation around utility reps. So I've been part of it, and there have been the occasional. How it's usually facilities, it doesn't have an open structure out there. I didn't see anyone go into the restaurant, so I can't really speak to it, but. Assumption is, yeah, like you said, close after hours,
Yeah.
just like this.
So specifically just for the children.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are we moving on at this point?
Sure.
Is there
Unless you guys have
anything-
more
any-
comments or questions?
Unless there's any upcoming further activity. Part of it all, for sure. I mean, it sounds like the city of Park going, it's something else,
So I think as far as the future parks, I think we're ways out even for the Eagle
yeah,
2020.
Yeah.
Which will be a neighborhood parking, so. But there's, I'll circulate the map so you have it, it's yeah, it shows the proposed neighborhood park. Or so. Asterisk. We'll have it.
so essentially things will be as they are for a while. And then that part will be.
Passwords.
So, yeah, just have a park, so the
Fixing up
neighborhood
the-
parks are salmon, like. I'm not sure. The prior. Those are, that's all.
So that's proposed, yeah, proposed, so those are, there's nothing there. Or is it replacing, or is it fixing up something?
My understanding is proposed is,
Yeah,
it might be the right names.
right,
It's a lot of proposals. Is there any more discussion? So I think at this point, we're introducing, Gretchen Bennett, is that correct? She has 40 minutes. And, we're gonna have an update on unhoused resources and challenges in the West End and citywide. So thank you so much for being there.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and I certainly want this time to be valuable to you, so I have some brief remarks prepared, but then I want to see if there's particular concerns or areas of interest for you as you're in your work in West Salem. So I thought I'd touch on our current work that's happening, a couple things that are coming up, and make sure you're aware of some resources available as well. One area of active current work for us is in West Salem. We spend a lot of time working in West Salem, specifically in the Wallace Marine Park area, and we understand there's impacts, that flow in as people are crossing Wallace and visiting the businesses and issues along the business area along the Wallace stretch as we come closer to Highway 22. We've been including camping first at the very south end at the path that connects the park to the Wallace area. Some people nickname it the Taco Bell path that we're talking about. So we've been working actively along that area. And then our second area of intense focus was concluding the camping that was along the berm is what I would describe, which for me is also part of the south end of the park. It's the area, if you were to cross the grass, would be where Port Athletic Club is, and where we have some more work happening there actually right now, because there was some recent movement into that area. And so we've been working in that space. And then our next area is along, thank you, Tori, for pulling up a map, is as you travel up towards the softball complex. We have some areas along the drive up into the softball complex that we're concentrating on next. And so those are our current areas. And what we do, our approach is we always lead with information and referral and resources and conversations, really person by person, individual by individual, working at developing relationships and trying to identify alternative options. I forgot to mention, there was also some south area owned by ODOT that we were partnered with ODOT, and ODOT was working on. There's some area around the trestle and around the highway and bridge area that ODOT recently worked in as well. Yeah, down in there. Yeah. There was also some areas along the river itself. West Salem Neighborhood Association asked for some assistance with kind of down where it says Mollusk Marine Park boat ramp area. There was some area there where we were working as well. Or partnering with ODOT in. So for example, so outreach, there are a number of community partners that do outreach services. And for example, our team at Salem Housing Authority has been visiting every Friday, really working and trying to get people connected into housing options. And they hosted a resource fair on February 13th called Share the Love, where they invited a number of community partners in to deliver information and try to get people connected with what's out there. We're now doing a lot of thinking about how could we completely or virtually completely complete camping at Wallace without significant ancillary impacts to West Salem downtown. You know, we understand that we don't succeed with encouraging each person inside. And so when we complete camping, we do understand there's a percentage of people who choose a different location. And so we're trying to be really mindful of not creating alternative or significant impacts to other areas that would be difficult for the community, while also addressing the need and the problem of Wallace Marine. So we've been working through what would that look like, and what would a path be to do that successfully. And right now it's been working on an area, heavily intense resource referral, and then taking a reassessment pause and trying to see, okay, who's downtown right now? Who's in West Salem downtown, but it's not Wallace? And did they come from Wallace or not? Or, you know, and just kind of see where people are transitioning to and where people are going. We've actually had more success than normal at Wallace. A police officer on the team yesterday was estimating about 30% of the people that we've concluded camping with at Wallace have chosen good alternatives. Like, he had a great story of a man being reunited with his daughter, and somebody else choosing to come inside after years of being outside. And so 30% is actually great for that work. You'd be surprised, but that's been neat. So we've been having some good success with where we've been. But we have a lot of people in Wallace that are really struggling, I think, with a number of issues and barriers. So we have a lot of work to do. Let's see. Also, one aspect of the current work that's really helped me is the Salem Housing Authority opened a property called Sequoia Crossing. And Sequoia Crossing is what's called the supportive housing complex, in that it's got staff on site. We have some people that we know won't succeed going directly into independent housing with a number of issues that they would need on-site supportive staff. And so they've opened Sequoia Crossing with 60 units, and they're drawing from the emergency shelters. So it's lovely for me to get to see some good movement out of shelter and into housing, because that can bottleneck us. We can get folks into shelter, but then if there's not an affordable housing unit that they qualify or would be successful in, we get a little stuck. So I've loved the movement lately into Sequoia Crossing. So that's been a great success so far.
What is the location of Sequoia Crossing?
Yeah, you can see Sequoia if you're traveling on Salem Parkway, just before the intersection at River Road, or just before, just northeast. of the River Road intersection. It's got a lot of feedback on its paint job. It's got a lot of different types of color blockings. But if you think about the Dutch Brothers, it's on that River Road corner, and then go a little northeast, and you'll see it from Salem Parkway. Let's see. Another activity going on right now is warming. The Salem Warming Network activated last night, and they are activating tonight just due to the cold temperatures. And that's essentially a life-saving strategy to give people a chance to come in out of the cold. So that's happening right now. We're also just continuing to address trash in the public right of way. You know, we have a lot of concern about just the volume of trash that's out there. We have so many people living unhoused without trash service, and that generates a lot of problems for all of us. And so I was so lucky about 15 months ago, the city council authorized a specific team that focuses on this, and they're pulling about 23 tons per month on average. And they work Monday through Thursday to do that. I remember when we first started thinking, gosh, are we gonna keep a full team busy? And now I laugh at that because this full team can't keep up, and I think I can keep a second team busy. So it's amazing to me, but we have, that's moving and working steadily. They're working in Wallace this week. They're working at Marion Square Park. They're also finishing some work out at Airway Drive. I see them now up there from another urban area.
I have a question on
Yeah.
that. 23 tons a month of garbage.
Yeah.
This team just mentioned city council authorized it.
They did,
Their
yes.
incentive. How many people are on that team?
Yeah, thank you. Let's see. We have Jose, we have Tim, and we have 3 people who are on the work crew, and then a 4th that's a supervisor that also works, named Rick. And so the 4 of them are pulling trash, and then we have Jake that manages it. And as Jake can, he gets out there and works as well. So I would say 4 to 5 people total. But you have the supervisor and the manager have the responsibility of preparing the projects, you know, making sure we have the right equipment, because sometimes things are technically involved. And also the planning and making sure we have the right supplies and equipment. So some of the time of the team go on that kind of planning work, and receiving complaints. We get complaints that come in from the community and areas of concern from our community partners. And so part of that work is also triaging those and making plans for when we'll work and responding back to.
So priority versus not so we're on that list.
Yeah,
I can only imagine what I dealt with as a West Salem business, not owner, but I manage, and what we've had to clean up. It's not just garbage.
no,
So
it's not.
with that, this group of 5,
Yeah,
are they being trained, or do they have I guess I can only think of like a hazmat suit.
I know, yeah, we've made sure that they have specialized training so that they know what to encounter, and I appreciate that. That's a really good question, because you're right, I've gone out with them a few times too, to make sure I understand what they're dealing with. And you're right, they're going to encounter a plethora of items as well as interactions with people. And so we wanted to make sure that they're well trained and they understand how to treat the objects safely for themselves, as well as that they're interacting with people in ways that de-escalate conflict. Yeah, I know. You know what I want to say about them too, is that they are still all in their roles. The other thing when we were first launching this is people were like, well, you'll never hire for that. And then you'll never retain anybody. Everyone is still in their job. And I'm like, my gosh, like I think that's hard work. So I love these guys. I'm just proud of them, and I'd like to double them, because I think it'd be fun to like really,
At least.
you know, right? I think we
Like
can keep them busy.
Yeah.
And really see an impact. I mean, they get a lot of people clap and stuff, and they get a lot of positive impact view in from the community. But I know they have really on their heart to try to really have Salem be a beautiful place, and I think it would be fun for them to really be scaled to what it is, you know. But anyway, that's a continual effort that we have underway. They're working really hard in Wallace, for example. We also completed a study. City Council recognized that at the start of the pandemic, they increased their focus on homelessness services. We started this team. We also worked hard to expand alternative shelter options for people. And so they wanted to try to study what's the impact of those dollars and where could we be improving with that. And so we just received the results of a draft of that homelessness study. It was presented to City Council at a work session in February, and it went through different domain areas like our contracting and the planning work and where we spent dollars. So that's available if anybody wanted to take a kind of a deep dive into what the city's work has been in the past couple of years. And then we've got some areas to focus on in the future. But that recently happened. Couple things coming up. Speaking of planning, we see this as a regional issue that have a number of stakeholders that are involved in this. And so we're very involved in the planning with an entity. It includes the school district, it includes Marion and Polk counties and the other nearby cities so that we tackle this as a regional issue. And that group is the Homeless Alliance, and they're embarking on an update to the regional strategic plan coming up. So that's going to be underway to try to sharpen where do we want to go next. Another aspect of the work that's been coming up is we have a concern for several of the shelter programs that were started in the past couple of years were started with one-time dollars. And we've been able to keep those busy and they've performed well in terms of exiting people to positive destinations. And so the focus has been how to identify dollars to be able to keep those in operation and not lose. We'll see an increase in unhoused population. I believe we lose those. And so the recent focus has been at the state level. And for example, 2 of the micro shelters were just given an additional year of funding coming out of the governor's emergency order. And then we're optimistic the governor will sign something that would give the 3rd micro shelter an additional year as well. So we're watching that right now, but that's an area that's been top of mind. So we don't see those shut down. Yeah, please.
What is a micro shelter?
Oh, thank you. A micro shelter is a small, it's just what it sounds like. It's a very small shelter that we right now have 3 in Salem that we opened in the past few years. And these are placed on properties where there's 24/7 supervision. There's case management services, there's security staff, there's hospitality, you know, there's the ability to take a shower and do laundry, have restroom and have, you know, people there. Yeah, Center Street's a good example. That one is called Village of Hope and it's for individual adults, individual vulnerable adults. I don't know the current statistics, but when we were first moving people in there, over half were people with mobility disabilities. And so we had to lay down extra track on the uneven surface, for example. Yeah. We also have one up at property owned by Catholic Community Services, which serves families with dependent children.
Really quick on this location.
Yeah,
So,
please.
This is gonna try to do like because it does really look good. I don't know, for those of you who drive down Center Street, you don't even see it really. I mean, they have side obscuring fence, so it's not like a chain link with slats.
Yeah.
So it's really,
That's it.
it's pretty neat.
Thank you. I appreciate
That's
that.
right across from the
Yeah.
We worked really hard to have that be a positive impact into the neighborhood. And like we wrote into the contract with the nonprofit partner, the families at their church in the park, to please walk the extra neighborhood perimeter and address if anything's beginning or starting. A common neighbor complaint or concern was, won't you draw unmanaged camping into our neighborhood? And we didn't think so because of the performance of the other programs that we'd started, but we walk the neighborhood to just make sure, and if anyone's kind of arriving, we talk with them about it. Well,
It's so clean.
good,
It's awesome.
good, he works really hard to have it clean.
Every time we drive by. So my wife works for the same hospital, and so she serves a lot of the same population that
Yeah.
goes across the community, and she's always impressed.
Thank
On the
you.
spot right now, but it's
No.
it's a really neat facility.
Thanks, no, I've been excited, that's been a really fun,
Just a comment on that facility, isn't it, when they originally decided to put that there's stipulations for the individuals residing in those micro shelters that they can't have X, Y, and Z
that's right.
outside of, you know, where they're living. So I think that's another, you know, it's.
Thanks for pointing that out. Sometimes people equate unmanaged mayhem with managed programs, and there's really a difference, you know, because you have to adhere to behavioral expectations and guidelines and when you come into the program, and so there really is a difference. I appreciate that you have to point that out and clarify that. And then the third micro shelter is specifically for people aged 18 to 24, so that's the other one.
Yeah, location on that.
That's out south, you're right, it's off of Turner Road, and it's kind of across from Garmin, if you're familiar with that.
So about there.
One couple quick comments about resources. Oh, is there a question? Okay, couple quick comments about resources. I just wanted you to know, one of our community partners, Northwest Human Services, has an outreach request on their website. If you're ever just worried about someone's welfare and you think, gosh, I wonder if this person's okay, or if they need someone, you can go online and make an outreach request, and their staff have health training, like they can do wound care out in the field and things. We recently bought them a van for that clinical outreach work that they do, but you can make an outreach request if you're concerned. And they also maintain what I think is a really good resource list of, it's called Mid-Valley Resources, and it shares information. You can also report your concerns to the city if you have concerns about camping or vehicles or trash that you're concerned about or is negatively impacting the area. There's an online form that you can fill out, and that brings that to our attention, and so then we triage it. There's multiple departments that get involved depending on the situation, so that comes in to our team that we were talking about, and then we triage and figure out who and when and where. So you can always report those concerns and complaints into us. We also set up an email that comes out most weeks that provides updates on the work that we're doing and where we're working at any given time. So if anybody wanted to follow along a little more carefully, there's that opportunity as well. But that's what I brought by way of comments, but I'm happy to go in any direction you might be curious about, or I welcome learning what you're dealing with if the issue is getting in the way of any progress that you're trying to make in this. So, either today or anytime, always happy to talk with you.
I think more of a comment for myself speaking on my location. Every single morning and throughout the day, we do a walk around our building. And we just don't do our building right next to us. It's walk-ins.
Yeah.
And there's bushes that accumulate, garbage just in general. So we make it a point to go across and pick up garbage just because it's, and it's not necessarily from homelessness. I think some of it is, but just taking ownership as a manager and I don't know the building, but I feel like if owners of businesses and managers and people that have a say, just, as long as it's just garbage, do their due diligence and just, try to make it a little bit nicer for the people that visit their place of business. So I think taking ownership and not taking away from those 5 people, that group of individuals that, go around and come to subject themselves to, them to the really important stuff. So.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the things I regret that I've looked for is I wish we could help private property. I've talked with private property owners, so it really significant impacts, especially if they aren't initially taking that and then things build up over time. Maybe you've got an out-of-state owner or something, it could be really significant. And I don't have a way to help in most cases on private property. And so my team's busy with the public sidewalks and the parks and the areas that are just owned by the city. I think that can make a really big difference. I also know how hard it is. I used to manage a nonprofit and for a while over a couple of years, had daily on our porch, we had an awning that had a porch, and I had a lot to do every single day to just make sure that it's clean for our, thing. Yeah, and it can take a lot of work. I respect that. Yeah.
Really quickly, anything from legislative, like last session, short sessions anticipated.
Yeah.
Not to be on the spot, but if you do have some new tracking.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people in the state have been watching the discussions around the ballot measure 1 and 10 that related to the possession of different types of substances, and it looks like that's headed for. I didn't see this morning if the governor signed it. Exactly, I think that passed legislation. I don't know if the governor signed that would change, and I know I can't speak, I can't get ahead of city council, but I know what comes up for us frequently in our work in terms of interacting with people with opioid use disorder or who are using fentanyl and those things, and so we were paying close attention to that discussion for sure, and so that's gonna be interesting to see how that changes things. And then we also are watching there was the housing and homelessness bill or housing and shelter bill. And that one included funds for extending what they call vulnerable shelters, which is the one on Center Street. The one on Center Street, currently, the city had funds through June 30th for. And then we were out of dollars for that. And so that included in that is funds to roll another year, I understand. So we'd be excited to see that go, because we've been benefiting from that program. Yeah.
In regards, sorry, in regards to the 30% you were talking about at the beginning of the fund house going.
Yeah.
Into the housing, so sorry.
Yeah.
Do you think that does that increase around this time of the year normally?
I think it does.
Cold?
I think it does. I don't have data to prove that, but we're speculating that part of it is people are just so
Cold, tired.
tired of the weather. It's good timing right now. Yeah, you're completely right. It's harder when it's beautiful outside and people find a gorgeous little camp nook and yeah. You're absolutely right.
Good question. Okay, moving forward, right, Tori?
I'm gonna say now, thank you so much. Of course.
Sure. Our next bullet point is West Salem organizations. I represent West Salem Business Association. And the only items I have to report are our next meeting is March 22nd, and we're going to be having some of the individuals that are running for Mayor Chris Roy. Anyhow, Lyle Moore, of course, has said that, so it should be pretty good. On our last meeting, we had actually Tony Hussein in the electric as our guest speaker for our February. Spoke to Snake River dams and their people are shutting us down. It's just really, really interesting as far as electricity, how it works, and truly how we take it for granted, and how shutting down the dams is going to how we're going to have to reach out to other sources cost that's connected to that. So it was just really interesting. So that's all I have to report. We're still reaching out to members of the past and trying to get that on board and be present. Still doing it a little bit. So yeah. Any questions on that? Perfect.
Yeah, I guess really quick, so actually, anyone from businesses, you have like a public meeting, right? That's open to anyone who wants to go to lunch or wants to
Absolutely.
participate.
Yeah, sure. You can be a member or non-member. Typically, we do people like at one time. We'd like to have them join because it's all about the guest speaker. So we meet once monthly. It's typically the fourth Thursday, except in March. Do the third Thursday, but since it was the day before, 22nd. So it should be pretty interesting. I feel like whenever there's politics involved, of just people like a lot of residents show up. So she's 11:45 to about 1. Typically, people roll in 11:45 to 12. West Salem, upstairs. Next meeting topics.
Association. I was going to that for a while, and on Second Street. I just wanted to anticipate concerns or questions. It's pretty quiet. So I did that in a little while.
Okay.
I think it's It used to be the same night as this meeting, but then they shifted to Thursday. I think it's the first Thursday, so. That's across too, I think, if I understand correctly, they've been looking at other locations, so. So we find out if you end up in a location. So you're.
And if I attend, I'll let you know if I find out.
Okay.
I've attended the last probably 5 years, so. It's just a really long. I don't want to jump ahead. This is my first time. Is there anything else that we need to discuss as it relates to West Salem organizations?
Yeah, I think there's Edgewater Partners, and I typically track that agenda, but it's mostly been things tied to farmers market and things directly. Tied to water. So it's same. Stood out.
Are we okay to talk about the next week?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
I think we should just, can we, and I, for whatever reason, I'm not recalling past meetings, but I'm sure we can suggest something coming.
Yeah.
So
You guys meeting, so whatever you want to have as a topic.
this is when it gets fun, right? So I truly, let's collaborate and get some really good, like, speakers or, people come in and talk about what our neighbors are passionate about. I think homelessness, obviously. I'd love to hear from the generals on what's going on downtown. I know there's some ownership change with the malls. And they're going to be, with that new ownership, and it's local, they're gonna be trying to bring in some different, like H&M. Like shoes, that's shocking. Not so much you guys. H&M, yeah, we're excited about that, maybe pulling in like a cookie crumble downtown mall. So just individuals that people want to know what is going on and what's that big question mark of. So what do you guys think? Not necessarily West Salem, but West Salem, obviously.
In terms of just I guess, a topic that would be in that vein, most interesting to me would just be, connecting West Salem to downtown. So there are, physically, they're very close proximity. So, one of the things we talked about was, a big bike path, or, any other just options to have direct connections and access. I know there's a new, just right across the street here, something's going to be happening there.
Yeah.
Don't know what, but it's just open or 30 proposed projects for like ideas and concepts. But again, just sure. So.
I would love to, and I'm drawing a blank off her name, but she always speaks to what's going on in the different locations all over West Salem downtown. She's going to guest speak a couple of times.
So Cherie is for downtown. She definitely does everything downtown. But so what we typically do is, and it's usually on an annual basis. So I'll have Sarah typically speaks to North Gateway areas. Where there is the board and you guys, the Thursdays, the first Thursday of the month. So it's always good to hear what that body is like. Projects for us, you guys know, so I think it's a good point to maybe have Cherie more often, since you're right about that site. I think they recently selected developer arguments, so I went to city council. So there is a record. I believe they probably share with concepts of what is anticipated in their meeting. I don't know, I have a look at it before. But with that happening, and like you said, other things. Whatever we're at with 2nd Street. Progress was pretty nice. But a lot of the similarities to the streetscape were done along commercial or state. You're having right Salem, so same store patterns that the lights going in. So a lot of things are happening, Second Street, but to get it like that, it's like an effort to move or help the feel of urban downtown. Down like urban Salem to West Salem. So I think that connectivity, like you said too, another project. What it is on is for that path connection. So that's one of the things that you guys have as an application. Still have to get like approval for funding once we get July, but we're anticipating broad support for that work. There's funding available. So once we have that more set, something to. Yeah.
What about, flood sheet? Because they're not only, they're the main subs on Second Street, but they have a ton of other projects going on too. Would that be?
I've talked to them, I've extended the invitation, it's hard because you guys are advisor to the city council, the agency. So I would say as a private business, it's kind of close. So I think they have maybe at some point when they're moving the project and they want to promote it, or if they're trying to get maybe support that they might have it. So I think it's a picture to say like, oh, this is what we envision, maybe. I have reached out to them because I do West Salem, also I manage projects southeast Salem, Creek, and they that way.
Well, maybe
So,
if there's a new chair,
downtown, yeah.
like maybe we're kicking it up a notch, maybe
Yeah.
it will be interesting.
Sure, yeah, I mean, you're more persuasive.
What about,
Look at Chris, your contact.
what about, and I'm just thinking more like, general like Deacon Construction, would they be, because I know that they show.
Yeah, I reached out to the in the past, they have a project they're doing West Salem along with Creek and Wallace. It was supposed to be the first week's use of West Salem, but then they shot in to get a single story out of it. But they've been, and it said like they said it in the past, and I have to reach out to them to see if they want to speak to downtown.
Yeah, just.
Other projects.
To talk about. Okay, just throwing all out. Actually, Mark,
You know, about what's going on. How you're going. By ranks coming down every day.
That's the.
More gone.
You guys, so all these boards, it takes a long time to have money in place where you can actually start splitting it, so. To have Second Street going through and have all those old processes buildings changing, right, sweet. Do we have that old billboard too, that was right, I mean. It was nice for Les Schwab, because it was basically like their gateway sign to their, you know what I'm talking about, like right there as you come in. But all that's changing, so that decades, it's kind of exciting to me to see like that. Like ripple effect from investment in like infrastructure, so private changes, so, yeah. I don't know if they have plans, and my understanding is Green Suite is they from a market standpoint. It's hard, the owner is not necessarily. So they'll have it as available, listed with brokers, this aging building on it. Persuaded, it's better to just have it. So it's a little more enticing to, sort of. See it like, here we go, yeah, so. Yeah.
commercial listing.
I'm not sure exactly how they got it listed, I play with, Spring, but I don't know. Maybe because it's a what's right now. But I know that he's working closely with big brokers and so. Other than current state of demolition.
And we also, are just trying. Just some suggestions. Okay, well, that gives you some
Yeah.
idea.
Also things that we had as a calendar, so to help you, like with some framework, we did have So February is micro housing, house efforts, city manager's office, public works update. So, now we're in March, so we lost the February, so we might do something, because we typically bring in like, trying to see where we had ODOT's typically. So we do try to bring in. I think ODOT's been the planning stages for, I think it's going to be the Center Street Bridge, that would be, earthquake support, like prevention. Or anticipating, I don't know what type of time frame, things like that, but they can speak to it, but that probably be later in June. So, yeah, we do have, so it looks like in May, we could, have an update from downtown and North Gateway. Renewal projects. In April, I was going to update you guys on Second Street. We talked about the Second Street, they'll be putting in somewhere to downtown Art School, so it's coordinated with public park. So that'd be nice too. So there's a lot more things to come, not just Second Street, but also things that will be supported by. On those lines, maybe since this is a good, Zambus Association, now that we have the new lights on Second Street, getting, see how that cohesive, whatever we large Edgewater carry into Second Street connection. So it's one of those, Salem electric staff typically are the ones putting that stuff in. So I don't know if you want that word extended, but the ornamental lights themselves are built to do that. So you can have lighting. Something too in the future is the Second Street being as it's a city facility. It's not anticipated to carry a lot of traffic. You could have, the hope was that having a draw with the community, so down each section of it, like the height of it. It's evening, or sections of the roadway are shut down. Food cars. So it's just something else to think about as far as that use involved, it's an extension. So market, other groups, so.
Second Street, see the second row arc's gonna be closed for half of the month. What's happening during that time, so.
I can check to find out for sure. So we're pretty much done with first phase. First phase was Patterson to Wallace, so the water is inside. So I don't know what exactly. I have to check and see what's happening. Because that, as the weather permits, they'll be up to start in west section, so Patterson to. So over the construction season, once they actually start, that will literally be blowing up asphalt, changing everything. Patterson place. So that'll be active. Through the summer. So it should be done. Whole project should be done this fall. But sorry, I don't know exactly what's happening. I was at a meeting last week and I didn't know that they'd be. I know that they have like base level heating now, but I don't think they anticipate to the full. They want to wait until the full streets once they have to go. So I haven't checked. And utilities are all hooked up, so I don't know exactly. So anything else? I thought those were good meeting topics. We typically have Polk County Commissioner, so we'll have. It's always good to hear from your representatives out there. Yeah, and then we get a little bit more in the procedural things. Is like typically as it gets slower, and so we have the legal update on the meeting law. But something just to note, we have had some transitions with the members, so had a couple interests. I think for written suggestions, so if you have anybody in your. You have contact with. Also personally, business. Send them over my way. To encourage them to join. So we have. Six. Too large. Yeah, so we have, that's the nice thing about it right now, we have some flexibility at large meaning anyone from city, Salem, stepping in the city limits. That's happy to be a resident, business person. Those are easier to build, so you have to be from anywhere in the city that might be interested. So that's my way, and then it gets a little bit more, I think we have business representation with it now. Neighborhood, that's usually pretty easy. The hardest one is we have one position that's let's say area. We do have quite a bit of residential area in our area. But it also have a challenge to do. So
All right, other discussion? Questions? The other one being here.
thanks. On the chair.
Yeah.
To say.